validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
Oh, look, I forgot to push the button. I'm sitting up here enjoying my coffee. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Man, we've been going through a lot this week. Boy, I tell you. So here on This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between, he said, quick straw man topic before we even get started. One of my friends who I had no idea was rich just donated $1 million to a local college. Money is silent. Yes, sir. Well, now that you've got a friend that you know that is rich, you can go over there and find out how they got rich. You don't gotta ask them for any money, but you can go over there and find out, like, did they inherit that, or was that something that they were working on for a long period of time? And if they were working on it for a long period of time, what did they do to get it, and how did they stay consistent with it in order to maintain it? Because one of the benefits of having wealthy friends will love to give advice about wealth, especially if they actually earned it, right? If they just got it from a family member, they're clearly just going to be like, yeah, it was an inheritance or a trust fund, one of the two, right? But if it was something that they actually worked for and they earned that, you know, that's going to be one of those situations where, yeah, they have no problem with mentoring you on how you can do it for yourself, because you're not asking them for a handout. You're asking them for knowledge and wisdom. Um, but you know, great that you threw that out there as soon as we got started on the show. It's like for however many years you've known this person, you never would have known that they were rich because they dress just like you do. They dress just like everybody else. You can't tell them from another person in the crowd because they're not spending a lot of money on expensive looking clothes, because expensive looking clothes is showing that I had the money to waste on that, not necessarily that I am actually rich. So that donating $1 million to a college, that shows I have a substantial quantity of capital if I can give $1 million away, right? But that stealth wealth, yes, sir, that is definitely silent. Okay. Alan says, hi, my name is Jackie. So hi, Jackie. Um, so like I was saying, we go live 7 nights a week. We do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time. So we ask you guys to like, subscribe, mash those reaction buttons while you're here. We ask you to hit the notification buttons after the show, especially on the YouTube channel, so that you can be notified when the show goes live. And then also double check the membership, because we got something rolling out on the membership just about every day of the week. So we encourage you guys to go ahead and take a look at that. We cover different topics every night of the week. Sundays is questions and comments from the fans. Mondays, we talk about how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. And we had a lot of stuff with housing that we just talked about most recently this Monday. Then we talk about on Tuesdays different ways to make, save, and invest money, how to start. How to start I got trolls jumping in at the very beginning of the show. How to what was I saying? How to start up a business, how to change how you look at the business and other such things. Then we go into um on Wednesdays yesterday, different ways to discuss how to go to different countries around the world and potentially invest. And we had a long 2-hour show about that yesterday. Um, Beyond that, we have on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, today being Thursday, we talk about self-development, personal improvements, relationship topics, socialization, negotiations, building your brand, raises, promotions. Uh, that was a troll, Michael. Because that's why I blocked him. Because it doesn't happen that way. I do not have any identical anyone anywhere. Um, I'm a very unique individual. You got to understand. So uh, then we talk about raises, promotions, retirement, first retirements, termination, and then we talk about how to build your 20 and 30-year plan so that you can focus on where you want to be at in the future versus where you are today. And we try to encourage you guys to stay on top of that. So today we're actually supposed to be talking about two incomes still aren't having the capabilities of covering the bills. And we're going to be doing this in the perspective of family financing traps. So today we're going to be kind of talking about money. So I expect you guys to kind of stay on topic. So when Steven came in, first thing is during the show and started talking about how he has a homeboy that was capable of donating $1 million to a college, that was kind of on par with what we're talking about today. So, you know, I want to see you guys maintain the same as we keep doing this. Now, imagine that you've done everything right. You know, you've tracked every dollar, and you know you've been saying like no to the lattes. You might even have bought a spreadsheet, or not bought one, but budgeted a spreadsheet that is kind of a work of art, because you know you would look at it like a true masterpiece of financial discipline, where every dollar has its allocated responsibility. right? Special shout out to OG Kicks. So the question would be, even though you're doing everything that we've discussed on the show in the past, why does it feel like you're still falling behind? Why, after all of the effort, does it feel like you're still running on that treadmill, working harder just to stay in the same place? Well, okay, so Michael says find a sugar daddy, he'll pay for everything. That's a interesting chuckle, but let's recognize. I think I'm just gonna sidestep it. I'm gonna touch base on that joke right there. You say find a sugar daddy and he'll pay for everything. Okay, nothing in life is free, right? Nothing. So whether you find a sugar daddy or a sugar mom or somebody who can pay for everything for you, they're gonna have expectations. You're gonna have performance requirements. And in order for you to continue to get that money, there are going to be certain things that they're going to be expecting you to do, and certain places they're going to expect you to be. And that's going to be where you're going to have to show up and shut up. And while people don't, think about their responsibilities as a dependent, because when you have somebody giving you capital, um, you're generating an income for your presence, and as a result, you have a performance. Now, a lot of people believe that, like Michael's saying right now, uh, easy to find men with money. Yeah, but the things you got to do to get that money, that's going to be a big problem. That's going to be a big problem, because if you are not with the type of person that just wants to hold a conversation with you, if they're the kind of person that wants to do more than just talk, then there's going to be things that you're going to have to do to earn that money. And at the end of the day, it is not easy for you to get the money once you find a man with the money. Because they say that people will do something strange for a piece of change, and that's true. Because ultimately, the more you need the money, the more they're going to dangle it in front of you and expect you to perform in order to get it. And the less ethical the person is, the more degrading the request is going to be. OG Kick says that's an interesting chuckle. Well, I tried to suppress my diabolical laugh because I've been mastering my diabolical laugh over the years, and that chuckle, that kind of just came out of nowhere, because Michael does come from the devil's advocate perspective on a lot of things, but this was one of those situations where he just kind of threw it up, and I was like, Jesus, Michael. But I just thought, you know what, let's just go ahead and touch base on that, because just like say, for example, you get a contract to monitor a website, free money, right? According to some people, right? You're gonna believe that, I don't have to really do nothing. As a moderator, the system works fine. There's never an issue, right? But at some point, because you're on retainer, at some point, something's going to happen to the system, and now you're going to have to perform. If you don't have the skill set to perform, they're going to be calling in your effort because they put you on retainer for that, and you're not performing. And that's going to either violate the contract or terminate your engagement with them, where they're no longer going to give you that capital. Now, women will take advantage of this in some situations where they will hang around the guy as long as they're getting it for free. And then when a guy starts asking for stuff, she'll walk away. And they'll cycle through hundreds of men getting that seemingly free paycheck. This is the lower value ones, though, not the high quality women. The high quality women, the middle level of women, actually refuse to accept things from men to prevent from having obligation of reciprocation. But the higher level women actually contribute out the gate. So there's a different situation there. Michael says, but you won't find those people in the park or local bars. Actually, yes, you will. You'll find them everywhere. a guy that's willing to, a guy or a girl or whatever, because you said find a rich man with money. A guy with money that's willing to give it to you can be found anywhere. It just depends on what they're giving you money for. Now, if they're giving you money for something inappropriate, yeah, you'll likely find them in a bar, a club, a place of entertainment, and what they're going to be asking you to do for that money is going to be to entertain them. But you can also find a man in a place of prestige, a courthouse, a law firm, a restaurant, and they'll be picking you up as a personal assistant. You might be a really good cleaner, and they might pick you up from wherever you are and then bring you back to their house and have you clean their house in a very appropriate fashion. Organize their files, stuff to that effect. Because you can find good help while good help is performing in society. And that's the reason why I tell you guys that you are a walking brand. You could be in the middle of minding your own damn business and find out that because you're doing a good job handling your own case files, that somebody says that you got very good skills to be a lawyer. And just like you would see like Lincoln Lawyer or this TV show Suits, where dude didn't go to law school at all, and now they're being drugged into a law firm. If you've got the skills to do certain tasks, they'll back you and put you into certain places and give you the training that you need to finish being successful. And then he said, I find women with money at horse shows. Yes, anybody who's got a horse has got money behind them somewhere. OG Kick says there are women who engage in that debauchery. There's a lot of them that do it. I actually talked to you guys on a show a while back where we were discussing different ways that dating apps actually are monetized, and that's because not only are some people encouraging you to get on the dating apps and communicate with them, and they're getting a interaction check from you. There are others that actually get on there and start interacting with you to see if you're willing to pay for their time, and they will go on dates with you and stuff to that effect, and then work their way into a different type of girlfriend contract where you would be paying them to show up and behave as if they're your partner for a certain quantity of capital. You've got some that end up in a concubine contract where, while these things aren't really enforceable in court, the legal document itself shows that you gave consent for the interaction and the performance that y'all were going to have, and then that prevents the person with money from being arrested or sued for whatever it is that the two of y'all do together. Where you can't complain about what they're doing because you signed a contract saying that you'd be willing to do it, right? So it'd be more breach of contract than it would be a crime against nature. Now I see a couple of people over here on the YouTube side, the TikTok side of things. I see your comments, but as I've explained to y'all multiple times before, that I am not an unk, that I would be a sir. So as I've asked or demanded and had high respect expected from you people, and the same way I deliver respect to you people, yes, V. I made it clear that when you talk to a grown-ass man, you don't talk to a grown-ass man by saying unk. So I will not be recognizing that particular word. And if I have the time, I'm going to remove it from the authorized vocabulary in the comment section whenever I get the time to teach you that respect is expected and it is reciprocated. So it is one of those levels of non-negotiable expectations for behavior. So as I've had that discussion 2 or 3 times over the last week and a half, that grown men and women come up and talk to grown men and women with mutual respect with yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. And I've already explained the dialogue behind that on the podcast. I'm reinforcing that. So when I see unk in the comments, you don't get acknowledged, you get passed over. So recognizing that, until you see that unk doesn't work in the comment section, recognizing that, you will see that it's going to be one of those things that I'm going to be not okay with. So I'm just asking you guys to kind of show that respect on TikTok side of things. So uncle, all of that, OG, all of that is going to be ones that I'm going to be like, no, it's not going to be okay with me. Michael says, sugardaddy.com, sponsored by Vander and Wilbur. You're coming up with a lot of different ways to make money. Because he's like, hey, if you start up a domain, ah, all right. So back to the main show. Oh, they put it in there like that. Oh, well, hold on. I wanted to do the other one. I do that like that there. So it should have, okay. All right, now let's see. All right, make sure that we got everybody in there. Just having some. Well, no, I was sitting there. No, I'm not mad at you, Michael. I was sitting over there looking at what you was doing, but I was over there on the TikTok side of things, standing on my word by removing that word from authorized text in the comment section so that they can't utilize it in their communication with me. Standing on non-negotiable expectations for behavior. But when you put sugardaddy.com, I was about to say GoDaddy. GoDaddy.com and sugardaddy.com are really close to one another. So you're not the first person to come up with a domain that's got daddy in the title. So it just gotta consider and reconsider. Now, back to the main topic. So you're doing it all right. You think that you got it all together, but what if I told you that while you're doing everything that you're supposed to be? What if I told you that the problem wasn't your spending, and it's not about your discipline, and that it is definitely not about your spreadsheet, right? The real problems with your ability to advance in your finances when you're utilizing all of your money correctly are going to be invisible problems. The hidden price tag that comes with being the responsible one, right? It's going to be the secret social debts that you're paying without even knowing it, and the psychological traps set by a system that wasn't really built for you to get ahead. So in tonight's show, we're not going to rehash the same old budgeting tips. We're not going to tell you guys to cut your streaming services or just try a little bit harder. Because while those things work in some areas and you gain enough capital, there is another side of this. So we're going to actually be exposing some of the unorthodox reasons that you're still struggling financially. And we're going to give you guys a new playbook, a set of unorthodox solutions to fight that. Because most households aren't failing because they lack discipline. They are struggling because they are carrying invisible obligations, social pressure, and structural costs that burdens that nobody thinks about, that never show up cleanly in a budget. If your money is being stretched by these hidden forces, you're not budgeting, you're managing an entire ecosystem. And it's time for you to learn the rules. Now, one of the things that I can tell you guys is that if you were budgeting every single dollar that you have, one of the line items that you would have is help a brother out. And in that line item, you should budget exactly how much you're going to be putting towards helping a brother out. And when you've exceeded that capital for the year, not the month, not the pay period, you stop helping brothers out. So until you can recoup that loss, you can't help nobody else out. Now, if you did that before we go any further, I could tell you, you would have a whole lot more going on for you. Because, like, for example, I had a family member last year, matter of fact, that was talking to me about trying to go back for a master's degree in law. And I was sitting over there thinking, because she was telling me about how she was struggling to get the money to get started. And I was about to, because I had a surplus, figure out how to rearrange my capital to provide that financial freedom where this person would be able to get what they needed. I stopped myself because of what I talk about on this podcast about proactively volunteering yourself for somebody else's bullshit. I stopped myself from doing it, and I waited for the moment where I could rationalize and validate me actually performing the action. And before I could validate me performing the action, one, the person was able to take care of it themselves, and two, the person showed me that they would not have appreciated what I did in the first place. So by me not volunteering to just give away money, because very few people say no to money, especially family. By me not volunteering the money with no strings attached, I instead prevented myself from putting up, I think, anywhere between $600 to $1,000 towards a college education that's not going to benefit me, right? And that's just one of the things that we find ourselves doing on a regular basis, because it's a family or friend, I love them, I'm loyal to them, or whatever. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and that hurts your wallet because they never give it back, right? Steven says, just use your time in a way where streaming services are not needed. It works for me. Well, that's good advice, Stephen. But the average person, say for example, I got my homeboy. He's got Netflix. I pay for his Netflix because his Netflix is on my phone. But this is also the same friend that gave me that $250,000 a year opportunity that I had been utilizing for a number of years. So his value came in the beginning, and he's benefiting on the residuals right now. But he had Netflix, he had Hulu, he's got Crunchyroll, he's got Disney Plus for his brother. He might have 4 or 5 streaming services because he is the leader of the house. So he pays for the different streaming services for the different people. He personally doesn't have time for any of them, but because his mom might watch Stars, his dad might watch Hulu, his brother might watch Disney Plus, he and I watch Netflix, he would have ultimately been paying almost $200 a month worth of streaming services because he's supporting a family that watches different streaming services, right? So when we think about, having too many streaming services, a lot of us believe that it's one person living El Solo, all for one for all of this by myself kind of stuff, and got like 40 different services. I don't need all of these services because I don't have time to watch them all. No, usually what we have is one of two things. We are the leader of a group, whether it is our social network of friends or it is our family members. And we will start up a free subscription, 14-day free trial, 30-day free trial. We'll forget that it's there, and it's just there. It's charging us every month. We make enough money. It's automatic bill pay, so we don't even think about it. And just like they could take it from us for a streaming service, we could put it into a brokerage account and then reinvest it so that we'd have more money coming out for us. But because we have this account that we forgot that we have, a family or friend will, oh, blah, 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 well, you can use my service. And now you're paying for the service. And now you might actually know that you're paying for the service, and your friend or your family member might be using it a couple times a month. But because you know that at some point somebody that you know is using a service, you're going to maintain the service, even though it might ultimately be a financial inconvenience. So being able to tell your family and friends, no, I'm not going to pay for your streaming service if I'm not using it, and then turn around and say, no, like you said, I don't have the time to watch all of these streaming services, then you're ultimately going to reduce the quantity of streaming services you have. I'm willing to do the ads on YouTube, and I'll pay for the streaming service for Netflix because I have Netflix going like 10 hours a day or more every day of the week in the background, just so that I don't have complete silence in my current location. While I have no problem with complete silence at my current location, I don't really want to deal with complete silence at my current location. So I have Netflix playing in the background while I work. I have Netflix playing in the background when I'm taking a nap. I have Netflix playing in the background when I'm taking a break and I'm trying to watch some movies or something like that. So probably 10 hours or more a day, Netflix will be playing in the background. It's not playing in the background when I'm live streaming. That's probably the only time it's not playing in the background. But if I'm up and functional, it is on in the background. So with that logic, one of the wildest things that people don't pay attention to is it makes sense for me to pay the $25 a month for that particular streaming service, because I would be benefiting from that streaming service because I use it literally all the time. But let's say I was paying $25 a month for the streaming service and I only watch it once a month. It ends up not being worth it. So I would have to recalibrate the value of the streaming service in comparison to the value of me not actually having to pay for the streaming service itself. Because if I could get the streaming service for free, it would make more sense to get it for free, even if I have to watch ads, because I'm only going to watch it for a short period of time and then I'm going to go, right? But if I'm going to watch it for an extended period of time, then it makes way more sense for me to watch it for the duration of time that makes the money make it worth it. It's almost like, okay, so Steven, you and I come from back in the day, and this would make a, and we'll get back to the main topic. You and I back in the day with Hollywood Videos, Blockbuster, before Redbox came out, your membership to rent movies, you would calculate the number of movies per week or per day or per month that you would collect from this movie store. And you would determine that because I'm watching X number of movies per month, the monthly membership would be cheaper than the movie by movie rentership. And then you and I probably were in the same age group where we were renting more of the video games and returning them than we were actually renting the movies. But if you say, well, $20 a month for the membership, some people might say $20 a month for the membership is high, but if I'm renting 60 movies a month, it makes sense, right? If it's $20 a month for the membership and I'm only renting 3 movies a month, it doesn't make sense, right? So you have to look at cost efficiency when it comes down to those subscriptions and those memberships. And that's the same thing with a gym membership. Everybody gets a gym membership to live the facade that they're a healthy person. Oh, I have a gym membership. I don't care if you have a gym membership. What I care about is how often do you use the damn gym membership, because you could have small gym equipment at your house for little, way less than what it would cost for an annual subscription at the gym. And if you're not using the equipment, it is still a waste of money. So to say that you have a gym membership, the only thing that a gym membership can do for you, most men will benefit from having a gym membership, specifically because if you listen to me when I told you guys to have a hitman bag, and I'm going to call it a hitman bag for the brothers because it's a whole bag for the females, but I'm going to call it a hitman bag for the brothers. And what that hitman bag is going to have is a whole nother suit, a whole nother pair of shoes, completely different outfit from the one that you have it on, that is pressed, creased, everything ready for the get going. You got your colognes, you got your cufflinks, your accessories, all of the stuff that you need to go from whatever you just got into on your job to whatever you're about to get into in the event. Now, everybody else would have their gym clothes in the trunk of their car. But if you have it's about to go down, we're about to go to an event, a soiree, a random nightclub, or whatever the case may be, I don't have to go all the way back to my house and shower up and everything to that effect. I just go to the gym. Usually, there's a gym closer to my job than my house. So the $25 a month gym membership makes sense if you're leaving off of the job and going from the job to an event, and you're just going to detour to the gym to take a shower, put on your suit, and go straight to the event. That would make the gym membership worthwhile, even if you don't exercise, because a gym membership includes the use of the showers. Now, for anybody who didn't think about that, just to have accessibility to a public shower in multiple different locations in your city, like Planet Fitness or LA Fitness or something like that effect, guess what? That's what a gym membership would do for you. Even if you don't exercise, it gives you a place to take you a shower. And a lot of the times you have homeless people that could utilize the gym membership just to go in there and take a shower, even if they're living on the side of the road with their stuff in a storage unit. They can pay for the storage unit, pay for the gym membership from panhandling, take a shower, keep themselves fresh, keep themselves with clean clothes, and then take the money, go to the laundromat, wash their clothes, and you would never know that they live outdoors. You just notice that they never go home. Steven says, I just borrowed movies from friends on VHS. And when I got older, people sold burnt DVDs everywhere, and I bought them. Right. I actually had a friend that used to sell burnt DVDs, and the friend would give me the DVDs to view for free so that I could watch the videos and determine which videos were good quality or not good quality. Because sometimes with the burnt DVDs, they had some individuals that would have like the played in theater, and you got somebody like walking in front of the camera or something to that effect. And if it wasn't a good quality bootleg video, you tell them about it, and they would remove that video from their collection or charge a lower price for it. So I got to watch the stuff for free. But when you borrow the VHS from the friend back in the day, that even that person still was buying them either on a membership because it was cheaper, or they were doing video by video because they weren't getting a lot of them. So a lot of us try, but what you just mentioned, that's exactly what we're about to talk about today. It's because if somebody else was paying to rent those videos, and while they still had it in their collection, you borrowing it from them, they may pay for a membership for a service that you're using because you are part of their ecosystem, right? We might be the main character of our story, but we are definitely the co-star in somebody else's, if not a cameo or background star in somebody else's story. So we can find ourselves being a financial burden to somebody incidentally because of situations like that, where we don't even think about it. It doesn't mean anything. Like if your friend rented a car and they got the car, they've got it for a few days, and let's say you borrow the car. Even if you put gas and you bring it back, if they had a rental car service that you weren't aware, they didn't have unlimited miles. They had a limited number of miles, and over a certain quantity of miles, they got to start paying by the mile. You borrowed the car because you needed a car. You didn't want to use your car. Your car might have been in the shop at the time, right? You borrowed the car. Yeah, we friends. Sure, I trust you. Go take it, bring it back, and you bring it back with a full tank of gas. Did them a favor, right? But now when you bring the car back, now there's a surplus on the return that would at least come out of their deposit, if not come out of their pocket before they get the deposit back. That would inconvenience the budget that they have for that rental car. They're not going to care because y'all are bros. You know, y'all go way back. So they're just going to charge it to the game, and most people do. But the fact is that the volunteering of their resources for your objective inconvenience them without you knowing about it or without them knowing about it. And that's something that we do on a regular basis, right? So on both sides of the fence, whether you're the person that is providing the resources to your network or you're one of the people in a network where you get resources for free, the person that is providing those resources for free to the other person is the person that's being burdened by the network that is receiving without, in a lot of situations, reciprocation. So let's start with the most powerful and most invisible force that might be sabotaging your finances, your family. Now, this isn't about blaming the people that you love. It's going to be about making a hidden ecosystem a reality and making that reality visible. So let's say you have a person who is a stand-in for so many people that we use as an example. And let's say that this person is going to be one of the people that everyone in their family calls when a car breaks down, when the rent's a little short, or when a medical bill pops up out of nowhere. Now, in this situation, this person is seen as the successful one, the one who's good with money, right? And because this person loves the family, they're going to help. $100 here, a few $100 there. Never feels like a lot of money in the moment. But if you looked at their finances, you'd see a totally different story. Their retirement contributions have been paused for 3 years. Because if you've got $500 a month to put into your brokerage account, but you're issuing out $500 a month to 7 different people who have unexpected circumstances that occurs, they're your family. You love them. You're gonna give to them because you know that if you needed them, that you could potentially tap into them and they would reciprocate that. But you never need them because your finances is always on point. So ultimately, they never reciprocate. While they could, they don't have to. Think about that part. Now, you might find, depending on how often that you're giving to your friends and family, that your emergency fund is perpetually half of what it's supposed to be. You know, your own goals of saving for down payments on a house feel more like a distant dream with every single month passing by. And that brings me back to a buddy of mine who he used to build savings, but he would build savings for other people's emergencies. And he legitimately told me this. He legitimately told me, oh yeah, I just put a little bit of money away here and there just in case somebody else needs it. He's a very kind-hearted guy, but that financial logic is self-sabotaging. Because when he doesn't have it, he doesn't have anybody else to call. He can't say, hey, can you bail me out of a bad spot because I loan my extra money to somebody else? Because everybody's going to look at him like, well, why the fuck you do that? You shouldn't have did that, right? And those usually are going to be the same people that would have called him and said, hey, let me get some money. Or, hey, let me get a favor. You got to understand, in doing this, you're not just helping the family. You're silently underwriting other people's households. Now, this information is very informal, it's untracked, and open-ended support that acts like an invisible second mortgage on your financial life. Because more often than not, when we budget the line items of the things that we spend by choice, the things that we spend by force, our budgets, our annual allocations never include how much we give away to our friends and family. It never includes how much we donate or loan to a friend or a family member. We should have that as a line item, but we don't. If we have a membership, if we have bills like utility bills, car insurance, car notes, this other stuff, our financial responsibilities might be in a massive budget where the one line item that is missing is where the extra money is going after we get our paycheck, because we bailed a friend out of jail, we got a cousin that's always in trouble, we caught up on somebody's probation, we helped somebody out with their child support, stuff to that effect. Shoot, child support contributions. Some people don't even consider that a line item. They consider that a legal obligation. But anytime money comes out of your bank account and goes to another source, it is supposed to be a line item on your budget. Right? But these are debts with no principal. There's no end dates. And the interest rate is paid with your future, not from the other person. So you're losing out on opportunity costs with that capital. And many homes, this sense of responsibility doesn't start with some big conversation. Like, we don't have a Capone meeting where we're sitting around the round table like the 12 Knights of Camelot, talking about how it's going to be my responsibility now to fund everybody else's bullshit at this table because I am the head of household. No, no, no. It doesn't start that way. It grows quietly through small acts of help that slowly become unspoken expectations, where one time they might have been in desperate need, and then after a few times of being in desperate need, now they are expecting you to hold them down because we're good like that. He said, my line item will read holiday packs to the jail so my people can start a store. But even still, because them packs is not cheap. They anywhere between $40 and $200 a pack, depending on what you get. I done seen some of them packs. I done seen some boys in jail. I know they got some. I told a whole bunch of my friends and family members, like, look, well, I don't answer collect calls from jail. So if I don't recognize the number, I don't answer the phone. So it's going to be hard for you to call me because you only have one opportunity to reach out to somebody. When you call, you're going to have to leave a message on the voicemail. And ultimately, the only way that I'm going to value that call that I don't understand a number from to pick it up is that you would have to call me multiple times, back to back, from the exact same number, where I get tired of the phone ringing and I pick it up to find out who's calling me so much, right? But if you've got that one call, you got the sergeant on the side of you and all this other stuff, like, and the call doesn't go through, if you don't find somebody else to call, that's it. And you're in a situation where you don't believe I'm going to pick up, you're not going to call me back. But I let everybody know, hey, you go to jail, I'm not the one to do the collect call with. Until the jailhouse starts doing text messages, I'm not the one to do collect calls with. I don't visit you on Sundays. I don't put no money on your canteen, and I'm not putting no money on your band. And the reason why I don't do those things is because I don't expect somebody to do that for me. At the end of the day, if you did whatever it is that you did to get in there, then you need to serve your time, and I will see you when you get out. I'm not even gonna come pick you up. You just let me know that you got out, and I might swing by, I might make an appointment, come see you. And I know some people are like, dang, that's heartless, that's shallow. Look, y'all don't understand. Y'all don't understand. If you have the kind of friends that have been on probation for the last 20 years, not for the same thing, it's like every time you meet them, they're either about to get off of probation or just got back on probation. You never have a conversation where they don't have the ankle monitor on. If you got one of them kind of friends, that's always going to court, they just got bonded out of jail. Sometimes they got arrested while they was out on bail, and they're trying to get bonded out a second time, and they don't have a bond hold this time either. Those are going to be the kind of friends where you spending a large quantity of your money just trying to keep them free. Bro, if you mess up, I am not coming to get you. It has to be one of the most corrupt situations where you literally have proof that you did absolutely nothing wrong. There's video footage. You want to release it to the press. This is a conspiracy against the system. Then I'll come and see what's going on. But I was raised from the dynamic that as long as you didn't do it, I'll be behind you 100% of the time. But if you did do it, I'll see you when you get out. So you get 30 years, I'll see you in year 31. 1 year after you get out, I'll see you in year 31. But if you didn't do it, I'll be there every step of the way. Now, these unspoken expectations, this becomes the pressure that is so immense when you're perceivably the head of household. Saying no can bring on waves of guilt, feeling bad about not wanting to see your family member suffer, or the fear of disappointing the people who sacrifice for you, if you even remember the last time that somebody that you love sacrificed for you. So you keep giving quietly, even as the strain starts to affect your own stability. Now, the most damaging part is often the secrecy. Because when you're sending money to family without your partner's knowledge, it's not just a financial transaction, it's an erosion of trust. It falls in line with financial infidelity. Because financial infidelity doesn't mean that you got to spend money on a stripper. Financial infidelity is when you take money out of the family funds and send money somewhere, whether you're buying something or helping somebody out, without the family knowing about it, right? It's equivalent to taking money out of the cash register at your job and using it for something that has nothing to do with the job without the boss okaying it. Stealing from the job is the same as financial infidelity in a relationship, because since everybody else involved with that money didn't agree to that transaction occurring, that's where the erosion of trust is. So research finds, these are publications in 2024 by the National Endowment for Financial Education, revealed that 32% of partnered Americans admit to some form of financial infidelity, which includes things like hidden debts or spendings. Secrets about money create a cycle of anxiety and guilt that can unravel a relationship from the inside out. I told you guys one time before that way back, I think it was like 2009, I was dating a girl, and I actually told her that, you know, I had to send my mom money to help her out with some of her finances. And my girl did not like me sending money to my mom. So I told her, I was like, well, look, you know, I've been taking care of my mom since I was like 9. You know, she retired when I was 15. So she hasn't had a job in forever. And at this time, I was like 24, 25, something like that. And I'm like, bro, like this is the way it is. And she was like, well, you got to choose between me and her. And I was like, all right. And packed up all my stuff that day, and I was gone. Steven says, I used to be bad with that on my younger years. Yeah, most of us are. Most of us are. Even I there were situations back in the day, like I can remember back when I was like 15, 16 years old. Shoot, I can remember back when I was 18, 19 years old, where I would max out credit cards to buy a car for my sister so that she could crash the car. She doesn't have her car, but I still owe all this money for the car, you know. She was sitting over here running around talking about it's her car. Bitch, I bought it. What you mean? Technically, it's my car, you know. And this is funny because she crashed the car twice. She crashed it once, and we had just got it. She crashed it once. I had to put the car in my name because she didn't have the information to put it in her name, put it on her insurance. So I put it in my name. And then when it was in my name on my insurance, she crashed it the second time. Oh boy. Oh boy. So we when we have family, a lot of the times we feel like we are bad with money because we just don't have enough of it, but we're really just choosing to enable somebody else who's bad with money. Because while you might not be bad with money, you may just be underwriting other people's households in secret, and this isn't going to be a moral failing. It's a structural problem that needs a structural solution. Steven says, put money where put money where it should be, or buy Newports and weed. I always took the second choice. Well, so you got certain people that have lifestyle choices, whether it's weed, alcohol, cigarettes. You got some people that like to, these days you've got game console subscriptions, video game DLC content subscriptions. You've got people who, like, I don't know if you've seen them on TikTok, especially. They've got the guys that are doing the lowrider competitions. Those are like $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 cars. They got to restore them from the ground up. And then they do the lowrider competition where slamming it down on the street to make it bounce actually damages the suspension, or the stereo competitions where they put so much bass in the car that the music is breaking the glass and warping the frame and bending the metal and really destroying the car, where the owner of the car after that competition has to spend all of this money to repair the car. Even if they repair the car out of their winnings, if they won, the fact is that you put all of this money into it and you're not getting much money out of it. Those lifestyle choices, we could perceive them as financially poor lifestyle choices, but lifestyle choices is part of the alleged entertainment luxuries of life that we're supposed to factor into our daily lives. So if you had a budget for Newports and weed and all of the rest of your bills was paid, you would be, even though you're not investing in your future, even though you don't have the emergency fund that you need, you would be perceived as reasonably financially sound. But the day that a family or friend needs $200 for a light bill and you front them that $200 for the light bill, your budget is thrown off. Now that your budget is thrown off, now you feel financially irresponsible when you go to the weed man and re-up your weed because your budget cannot support it because you're $200 short. But it wasn't because you wasn't good with money. It's because the hidden factor in your budget was that family member or friend that borrowed that extra $200. Because if your budget is to the dollar and somebody takes $2 out, you're $2 short. So something's not going to get paid. So the unorthodox solution here isn't to cut your family off. It is to make the invisible visible. First, you want to put family support on your budget. Like I said, help a brother out, line item. Create a dedicated line item for that on your budget. Call it family support or love fund, whatever you like, but give it a name and a number. Decide what your partner, or decide it with your partner, if you have one, on a monthly or, like I said, annual amount that you can provide sustainably without sabotaging your own long-term goals. So if you say, well, I'm only going to put out $500 a year, you might think $500 a year is not a lot, but shoot, $200 a month is a lot. $200 a month over 10 months turned into $2,000. So $500 a year might not be a lot, but if somebody hit me up and borrow the money and they don't return it, then I don't have it the next time somebody asks me for it. I gave my last $500 to so-and-so. So you can get it from them. But until somebody give me back $500, I don't have $500. You can really do that. But this turns the support from a reactive, uh, guilt-driven draining into an intentional, loving, and bounded act. Second, you want to reevaluate this value periodically. Families' needs change, your financial situation changes. A regular check-in, say every 6 months or so, every quarter if you can. Let you adjust the amount up or down without drama. It sets the precedent that this support is a conscious choice, not a bottomless obligation. And you're setting the choice between you and your partner that is agreeing that this amount of money will be allowed to leave the family budget. You're not making this a judgment between you and the person that's borrowing from it, because if they know, oh, I could potentially borrow $1,000 from my friend now, they'll actually borrow without the intent of returning. Now, if you ask for anything less than $1,000 that you fronted them, they're more likely to tell you yes, because they technically owe you that. But now you're borrowing from friends out of obligation for reimbursement. Third, learn to tell the difference between a crisis and a pattern. Is this a one-time emergency, like a sudden job loss? Or is it a reoccurring need for a financial top-up? Helping in an emergency is one thing. Subsidizing a permanently unstable lifestyle is another. The latter requires a different kind of boundary, one that might involve offering non-cash support. Instead of sending cash, maybe you offer to help them build a budget, search for a job, or find local support agencies. Sometimes the most valuable help isn't a check, it's your knowledge and your time. And that plays back to what I told you at the beginning of the show. Now that you know that you've got a rich friend, instead of going over there and asking them for money, you go over there and find out if they earned it, or if it was given to them, if they inherited it in some way, shape, or form. And if they earned it, find out what they had to do to get it and how they were able to sustain it, because that type of advice from a wealthy individual would be more valuable to you and more valued from them than asking them for money now that you know that they got money, right? Likewise, this plays back to, because like my same buddy that helped me with the $250,000 idea, he was trying to get a job back before COVID, and he had to get a new pair of glasses, but he didn't have any money, and he didn't have a job, but he was trying to get a job. And he was like, he needed like $70 for the eye exam, and all I had was 80, bunch of 20s. So I gave him whatever I had in my wallet, and I was like, take it, get your glasses, get you a job, right? He's seen me pull like my last $80 out of my wallet and hand it to him. He's like, man, this is your last. What you gonna do? I'm gonna figure that out for me. You get yourself a job, because you helping your mom and them out, and whatnot. So that one-time scenario gave him $80, put him into a guaranteed stream of employment. I also taught him how to drive, which helped him get a driver's license, which allowed him to use that driver's license to get the car that he's driving right now. Helped him get the car by putting in effort instead of putting up money. I was able to help him get the things that he needed to get to be successful. The difference between a person that becomes a financial burden, like when I told you guys about how when he asked me for money because he spent the money at the wrong time instead of budgeting the money, the difference is instead of me continuously subsidizing his bad mistakes, I encourage him to reallocate his capital in a more appropriate and more effective fashion, so that he no longer has to ask me for money, which ended up causing him to ask me for money less. It doesn't eliminate the fact that he asked me for money, but even still, when he asks me for money, I no longer say yes. Now I don't have to say no. I just tell him, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do the other? Did you allocate? Did you put the budget aside? Blah, 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 blah. You're like, I might stay on top of it more often to find out, is your money right? Because if it is, he shouldn't have to call me and say, hey, my money's not right. By making family support explicit, you aren't being selfish. You are ensuring that your support remains sustainable, preserving both your financial health and your relationships for the long run. And I said this before also, is that if you're loaning money to a friend, don't give friends money. Loan it to them. Derive a contract, like I told you guys before. And the contract, you might do 10% because you love them. Fuck, I'm gonna do 20%. You know, I'm loan shark status. I'm gonna do 20%. You high risk. You know, I'm gonna do 20%. But you contract the money out. Say, hey, I'll give you what you need. You got to give it back to me plus interest, compounded, and you can swing compounded daily, compounded monthly, however you want to compound it. But I'm going to compound it till you pay me back. Now, by doing so, from the time they borrowed the money until the time they paid you back, when they pay you back a month later, when they pay you back 6 months later, they should have paid you back with interest, which means now you have a surplus of capital in your Help a Brother Out fund, where if somebody came to borrow money, it wouldn't be coming from your regular budget. You would have a whole different bank account that is just sat there for when your homies need some capital. Remember, I told you my homeboy had created the exact same kind of fund, but the only difference is he didn't charge people interest on the loan. He just gave it to them. And if they gave it back, they gave it back. That's loyalty. I respect that, but that's self-sabotaging. So imagine this. You get a raise. It's a good one, 15% more than what you thought. For a moment, you feel a wave of relief, finally some breathing room. But within 6 months, that breathing room has vanished. The money's just gone. Where does it go? This is going to be that lifestyle inflation that we talked about. It's one of the sneakiest financial traps out there. It's the natural tendency for our spending to rise right alongside our income. Buying more expensive groceries because we can afford it. We switch from Roman noodles to steak dinners. Buying name brand clothes because we can afford it. We switch from no name brand like store bought stuff to top of the line clothes. We switch from a basic phone plan to a phone plan with a bunch of accessories on it, a bunch of amenities on it. We will go from the bottom tier subscription to a top tier subscription. We'll go from baseline insurance premiums to top of the line insurance premiums. We can afford it. We just add more to our lifestyles. But it is rarely a conscious decision. Instead, it's going to happen through a series of small, seemingly justifiable upgrades. The slightly nicer apartment, the newer car, because the old one was getting unreliable, right? More dinners out because you're working harder and you deserve to have a good meal. Each decision is going to make sense on its own, but together they're building that cage. In fact, recent data from Federal Reserves shows a larger share of families saw their spending increase than their income. Their spending went up, not their income, right? It's a trend that puts constant pressure on household budgets. And we're upgrading ourselves right back into feeling broke. Why do we do this? This isn't just about wanting nice things. It's going to be about identity. We spend money to signal who we are or who we want to be seen as. Right? The good parent who puts their kids in all the best activities, the successful professional with the right suit and the right car. We are paying a hidden tax on our identity. So if your identity requires a car payment, it might be advertising, not identity. So let's be clear about this. This isn't a personal flaw. We are wired for social comparison. But today, our comparison group isn't just the neighbors next door, where we used to say keeping up with the Joneses, charging it to the Underhills, keeping up with the Jeffersons. When we're comparing ourselves to our neighbors, and because our neighbors have nice things, we try to get nice things too, right? It's now curated globally through highlight reels on social media, where everyone seems wealthier and happier on video. That 1 minute, 5 minute reel that shows them in a nice portion of their house, or riding in a nice looking car, or interacting with each other in a overly happy environment. That's for the 30 seconds or the 1 minute or the 5 minute video that they got going on. The other 23 hours and 59 minutes that's not on that video is not like that. But that's not what we think. Our mind takes in information and it comes to an observation, and that observation becomes an assumption, and that assumption becomes our train of thought. So we see other people with nice houses and nice families and nice cars and going to nice places and doing nice things, and we have the fear of missing out because I don't live that lifestyle. I don't have that family. I don't have those kinds of relationships. And then we start proactively spending money to try to get that. This constant exposure creates what some call money dysmorphia. It's a distorted perception of your own finances where you feel inadequate despite being objectively stable. You feel broke not because of your bank balance, but because of the gap between your life and the lives that you see online. And this pressure is getting worse. It's not just you. The cost of the classic middle class lifestyle, things like a stable home and reliable childcare, has been climbing dramatically faster than most people's paychecks. You're running harder just to afford the same things that your parents have. So take, for example, y'all already know minimum wage is going up. So lawn care service, gonna cost more. Daycare is gonna cost more. Babysitters, gonna cost more. Housekeepers, gonna cost more. So just to have somebody watch your kids, cut your grass, and clean your house, where it might have would have all been inside of $100 a month 10 or 20 years ago, now you're probably spending $20 an hour for each one of those services. You might be spending $50 a cut on a small yard, where it is costing you more than you make. The unorthodox solution isn't just to spend less, it's to conduct an identity audit. You want to take out a piece of paper and write down 3 to 5 identities that are most important to you. And when we talk about identities, we're not talking about multiple personalities. You have the observation of wanting to be seen as a good parent, a skilled professional, a healthy person. These are 3 different identities. Together, you have a certain eating habits. You have certain visual observations of how you want to look for your job, and then what you want to do to be perceived by society as a good parent. Because some good parents will teach their kids at home, but some good parents will pay for sports, put their kids in private school, buy the kids expensive clothes, a bunch of school supplies, donate money to the school, and not claim it on their taxes, which is a huge problem. You should always claim it on their taxes. PTA meetings, field trips, all of these other things that you do to perceive yourselves as a good parent to the school. But when you're perceiving yourself as a good parent to your family, you're buying a bunch of gifts for the kids for the holidays. You're buying even more gifts for the birthdays. You're paying for the birthday parties. All of this stuff costs extra money. Out of all of the stuff that we've talked about, when it comes down to childcare, that's the hidden parent tax that we talked about not too long ago, where you would be seen spending a few $100s on a 3-hour event for a child. And because you've been doing this since as far back as a child can remember, the children start to expect it. They didn't earn it. You're just spending money because they're still alive. They didn't do anything to deserve it. They're just spending money because you're still alive. And then it becomes entitlement. Now, with entitlement comes higher expectations. Now it's not just get a regular cake and sing us happy birthday. Now it's bouncy houses, trampolines, clown, entertainment, invite all of my friends from school, all of these things. Then give me a bunch of gifts on top of that. So the person hosting the event still has to buy you a gift on top of the event, right? All of this stuff costs money to be perceived as a good parent, right? Because if you don't, my parents don't love me. So for each of these identities, you want to brainstorm 3 to 5 behaviors that fulfill the role, and you want to do it for free, for very little money. And you want to start with for free. How can I meet the expectations of social validation for free? And if I do have to put some money in it, it's going to be a very small quantity of money. So a good parent isn't defined by expensive summer camps. It can be defined by reading library books together, enforcing loving discipline, and just being present and emotionally available. And when prom comes, okay, so remember I told you that if you teach your children at 5, 6, 7 years old about money, budgeting, and investments, they should be putting money away for their first car and their prom before they go to elementary school. So before grade 1, they should know about money and how to utilize it. Before first grade, before they get into kindergarten, they should know about money and how to utilize it. And I know some people are like, what you mean? Like they're too young to know blah, 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 blah. Saying they're too young devalues their mentality, and it devalues their accountability. The younger you teach them, the more they know before it is needed, and the more you can reinstill in them core fundamental factors that will make them more successful. So if you're teaching them how to count at 4 and 5 years old, and most schools don't take the children in the first grade until they're like 6 or 7 years old, you're giving them 3 years of financial responsibility. Between the first grade and the third grade, you're teaching them not to talk to other people about their finances. Between the third grade and the 6th grade, you're teaching them not to give their finances to other kids. Between the 6th grade and the 9th grade, you're teaching them how important the money is, because somewhere between the 4th grade and the 9th grade, they're going to be paying for their own lunch if they're not on a free lunch program, right? Now, by the time they get into high school, they should have had a decent 10 years, 8 years of financial involvement before they're old enough to get their first job. So when it comes down to prom, if I was a good parent, I taught you enough about saving, investing, and budgeting that you should be able to pay for your own prom. You should have been able to buy your own first car, and you will be more valued by your social network because you bought your car and paid for your prom with money that you obtained on your own. You didn't get it from mom and dad. So whatever you can afford, whether it's a used car or a new car, whether it's a hotel for the after party, whether it's a team nightclub or something like that, dinner out or whatever the case may be, your prom suit, your prom dress, whatever it is, your hair and everything else to that effect, you paying for all that on your own. So the value you're going to have on your prom is that from beginning of school until the time you got to that moment, you were preparing for that. So however it is that you wanted to look and whatever it is that you wanted to get, you would have that. And you would be able to project self-sustained success, a self-made child, because you took the advice from your parents and utilized that to make yourself successful in high school, which will carry you a long way, because instead of having 30 grand dumped on you for prom, where you still live in a broke lifestyle, you are going to be able to live within financial reason, still be able to enjoy that prom, but then whatever you spend your money on, because you had to earn it, you had to budget it, you had to hold on to it, you're not going to unnecessarily spend. You're not going to be private jets and Rolls Royces and Bentleys. You might buy your own 15-year-old Ford Focus, drive to prom with a regular dress from one of the nearby prom dress stores. And that be it. Maybe $100 for an outfit, but you pay for it for yourself. Maybe a $200 pair of shoes, but you paid for it for yourself. And you got your own vehicle that you paid for yourself. Which means that the results of your prom is going to be different than everybody else, because you might drive to prom with your car, and then every day after that, you're driving to school. Where nobody else can do that. Everybody else got dropped off, right? Now, let's think about a skilled professional. Skilled professional isn't going to be about wearing designer brands. And that's what everybody thinks, which is why I told you, Stephen, do not buy you a new wardrobe. Just reorganize the stuff you already got and put those new dress shoes that you bought in April, put those on your feet and take that to school with you. Because you'll go a whole lot further with finding some of the best clothes that's already in your closet that you haven't worn in a while and match that up with the shoes that you just bought. You'll go a whole lot further doing that than what you would wasting a bunch of money on buying new clothes that you've never seen before, so that you can walk in front of people you've never met before in a school that you've never been in before, where they don't know what your wardrobe looks like. When you start talking about external validation, why are you wasting money on external validation? Because these people don't know you. So you can take the best clothes out of your closet and it'll be the first time they see that outfit. Truthfully, if we were buying a new wardrobe to impress other people, even though it's a bad idea, the only time you're buying a new wardrobe to impress other people is people who've already seen your wardrobe. That's like the only time that you're going to buy new because everybody already knows what your wardrobe looks like. So if I wanted to, like, I have so many clothes in my closet, every now and again, I come to the show with something else that I pull from the back of the closet. I didn't go and buy a new item just to be on this podcast. I just put on something different. The stuff that y'all see me wear on a regular basis is the stuff that I favor. But the one random one up where I show up with a different kind of, oh, that looks nice. Yeah, I've been had this. I've been holding this for 10 years. I just don't put it on. But that's another reason why it looks so nice. Right? So you got to understand, skilled professionals, you don't have to wear designer brands. It's going to be about being reliable, delivering high quality work, constantly improving your skills through free online resources. Being a supportive friend. Being a supportive friend isn't going to be the one who buys the most expensive gifts or get in trouble with you or bail you out of jail all the time. It's going to be the one who calls to check in, make sure that you're doing all right, or the one who shows up to help you move so that you don't got to pay as much money for movers. And you're going to help them move and not complain about it. Because I had a buddy who came to help move, and he was a supervisor. And I'm sitting over here like, why did you come? You were supposed to be helping me load stuff onto the thing, and you sit over here watching more than you helping. That's when I started paying movers. Now, this exercise decouples your self-worth from your spending. It's going to remind you that the core of your identity is your character and your actions, not the things that you buy. When you do spend, you can ask a powerful question to yourself that redefines how you look at things. Am I paying for a genuine improvement in my life, or am I just paying the identity tax? Right? And this is a simple question that can be the circuit breaker that stops lifestyle inflation in its tracks. So we've talked about invisible pressure from the family and society. But what if the biggest threat to your financial well-being is living under your own roof? For some people, financial struggle isn't about budgets or income at all. It's about safety. And make sure that you guys like, subscribe, and mash those reaction buttons while you're here. We're 30% in. Now, I'm talking about, say, financial abuse. This is a form of domestic abuse when money is used as a weapon of control. It's insidious because it can be disguised as just managing the household finances. It can look like a partner who insists on controlling all of the bank accounts, leaving you with a small allowance. It can be someone who runs up debt in your name without your knowledge. And you ask yourself, well, how does that happen? Well, some people have friends, family member, or partners that will ask you to put your name on something, and you will agree, because putting your name on something, vouching for them, is how you're going to feel like you're doing, and it doesn't really cost you a thing. But when vouching for someone turns into credit cards, accounts with stores and stuff to that effect, while it's in good standing, you don't feel a thing. When it goes negative, that's when you start feeling it. It can destroy your credit. Or it could be someone who sabotages your ability to work by holding your car keys, causing trouble at your job, making you feel guilty for having a career. If you've ever been in a relationship where strategically the argument starts up 30 minutes to an hour before you have to go to work, knowing that you got a 40-minute drive. You can't resolve the argument because you guys are not talking about the problem. You're blaming each other for how your relationship sucks. You might be trying to validate and justify why things are going the way they're going, but neither one of you is actually resolving the actual complaint. You start talking about how you got to go to work, and then they're going to start guilt tripping you into believing that if you walk out of the door, you're showing that you don't love your partner and all of this other stuff. Now you feel like you have to stay and entertain this argument, where the argument itself was just to delay you from going to work, not to actually fix a problem. You storm out of the door, and then they're going to make you feel bad when you get off from work, so the argument doesn't end. You might be in one of those situations where they start texting you on your way to work. They're calling you while you're on a job. Now your performance at work is going to suffer because you're mentally distracted by what's going on at your house. Right? This is an area of financial abuse, and not a lot of us really realize. The happy wife, happy life scenario happens because a lot of men find themselves in those types of situations where you believe, well, if I keep her happy, she won't behave like this. She behaving like this, I don't give a fuck if she happy or not. She got to go. But it could also be a little bit more sinister than that. Take, for example, does your partner get angry when you ask to see a bank statement? Because if they ask to see the bank statements and you start flipping out, like, there's some questions there. Do they dismiss your financial concerns when you're trying to give them advice about what to do or what not to do with the finances? Telling you don't worry about it, you got it. Do they make major financial decisions without talking to you? And then when you try to confront them about it, they try to devalue it because the majority of whatever they spent was their money, even though they control your money too. These are not signs of simple money disagreements. These are all red flags of financial control. And when you're in a situation like this, a budget spreadsheet is like bringing a garden hose to a house fire. Might be using the wrong tool. The goal isn't to optimize your spending, it's to restore your autonomy and ensure your safety. So if asking about the bills causes stress, that's not a money problem, that's a control problem. And this is far more common than many people think. And the damage to a person's well being is going to be immense here. So the unorthodox solution here has nothing to do with traditional finance advice. It's about creating a safety plan. So, first, oh boy, I just looked up and it seems like all these females over here on TikTok is telling me that I look cute. Thank you. I am having a bad hair day. You can't tell because of the camera angle. So first, let's start documenting everything. If it is safe for you to document everything, you want to quietly gather your evidence. Make copies of bank statements, credit card bills, loan documents. You want to keep a private log of incidents of control or threats. And where I would put them would be either in a locked file on your cell phone, a locked file on your laptop or computer. I would um, if you're going to write it down in a journal or a log book, and keep that book in a safe or maybe locked in a lockbox in the trunk of your car or something like that, away from the regular seeing eyes. You want to email copies to a trusted friend or a private password protected email account that the abuser can't access. And this is going to be crucial. You know, if there are accounts that you have that your name is on, joint accounts that your name is on, but somebody else is on there as an account holder, you can go down to the bank and get printed bank statements from the bank and be able to monitor your money this way. And this is going to be what you're going to need when the time comes to seek legal help, because if you realize that somebody is taking advantage of you financially, the first thing the police are going to do, they're going to ask you is, do you have proof? So you got to gather proof. Second, you want to quietly build an escape fund. And what a lot of women were talking about back in the day was siphoning money out of the family income and creating the escape fund in silence. I would not do it in silence where I'm taking it from the family budget. Instead, if you've got your own job, you are going to allocate a specific quantity of money to the household, and you're going to withhold a specific quantity of money for yourself. Now, that quantity of money can be perceived as discretionary spending, but if you're utilizing that discretionary spending for an escape fund, that would be more appropriate than your partner thinking that you're spending the joint bank account money on bills, but you're instead spending that joint bank account money on your evacuation, where the account ends up short and your partner doesn't know why. Even if it's just a small amount of cash that you get back from groceries, or an account that your partner doesn't know anything about, that you have as a savings account or something like that, having your own stash of money is going to be critical steps towards independence when you recognize that you're in a kind of a relationship that does not benefit you, right? So if you open new accounts, you might feel like it's a little bit risky. You want to consider prepaid debit cards and safety deposit box. You can give cash to a trusted friend for safekeeping, or if you were in one of those relationships where your partner doesn't care what kind of furniture you buy, and you buy furniture, you can buy the type of furniture that has hidden compartments in it, and then you can stash the money in those hidden compartments. This isn't about financial infidelity. It's about survival when you're in those types of relationships where your partner is utilizing money to control what you do. And it's not the same as when a parent dictates terms about how the house is run and what the child will and will not get as far as luxuries versus necessities. It's like a romantic partner that deprives you of what you're entitled to under the falsehood of keeping you safe, and then restricting your movement under the falsehood of keeping you safe, uh, uh, socially distancing you from everyone else in your network and making you unnecessarily codependent on them, right? Well, you got to start asking somebody for money every day to get stuff done, and they have to validate why you're asking them for money. At the end of the day, you start finding yourself in a position where you have to start asking questions, right? Now, that doesn't mean that you can't be in a relationship where somebody does handle the money. You could be focusing on other stuff. They can be taking care of the money. Whenever you need something, you say, hey, I need, and either they get it for you, um, or they go and get the cash so that you can get it for yourself. Either way, whatever it is that you want is available to you, right? And if you ever ask to see the budget, they don't have a problem with showing you the budget. You're in a good relationship. You just have a scenario where you have agreed or silently not complained about somebody else organizing everything and keeping everything financially structured. Now, third and most importantly, you want to reach out to some professional help in these situations where somebody's utilizing finances to control you. This is not going to be a problem that you can solve alone, because the best violence hotlines can be provided confidentially and give you the advice that you need to be successful. Therapists, also specializing in abuse, can help you navigate the emotional turmoil. An attorney can provide you guidance on protecting your assets, whatever assets that you have left that hasn't been dismissed from your partner, and recognizing that you're in a financially abusive situation is going to be a painful but powerful first step, where it reframes the problem from I'm bad with money to I am in an unsafe situation that requires a plan. So it's not about saving the budgets in those situations. It's about saving yourself. Now, if any of this information that we've given you so far, 40% in, is starting, you're starting to see the invisible forces that have been holding you back, then take a couple seconds, if you haven't done so, and subscribe to my Twitter, my TikTok channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to Twitch, mash those reaction buttons, like today's show. We go deep into psychology and the hidden structures of money, because I believe that by understanding the real problem, that's going to be the only way that you're going to be able to find real solutions. So make sure that you hit that subscription button and join the membership as well, where people who are ready to look beyond the budget and start working on self-improvement, that's where we're going to find the most long-term development. Now, let's talk about another trap real quick, one that's particularly common among high achievers, the golden handcuffs, if you will. This is going to be a paradox of having high income jobs that, instead of giving you freedom, actually traps you. You might be in one of these careers right now. Pays well, the title is impressive, and it looks great on paper, but the reality is that it is a brutal mix of long hours and extreme rigidity. You have no time to learn new skills, no flexibility for your family, no energy left at the end of the day, and to even think about a career change, yeah, that's obsolete. You are income rich, but you're time poor, and being time poor is expensive. It leads to what we can call burnout spending. You're too exhausted to cook, so you order takeout. You're too stressed to clean, so you hire a service. You need a vacation to escape the very job that pays for the vacation. This convenience spending eats away at your high income, leaving you feeling like you're still living paycheck to paycheck. Now, this isn't just a personal problem, it's a structural one. The entire household gets stuck. Both partners might be in demanding jobs, running on parallel tracks of exhaustion. There's no slack in the system. When a child gets sick or a car breaks down, the whole fragile structure teeters on the brink of collapse. Conventional wisdom says to just keep grinding, climb the ladder for an even bigger salary. But often that just tightens the handcuffs. The unorthodox solution is to stop thinking about your income number and start thinking about income architecture. Income architecture isn't about maximizing this year's salary. It is about strategically designing your household's careers for long-term flexibility and power. This often means making a counterintuitive move. It might mean one partner voluntarily steps back from a high-paying but rigid job into a more flexible, unfortunately, lower-paying role for a defined period, maybe 2 to 5 years. This isn't a sacrifice, or at least it's not supposed to be perceived to be. It's a strategic investment. The flexibility buys you something more valuable than money. You get your time. Take, for example, Steven had turned down a promotion earlier this year. He didn't want the responsibility. It would have asked more from him, but it would have paid him more. Not being in that managerial role gives him more flexibility to tell the boss he's not coming to work because he's not the boss that's required to be at work. But he gives up on the type of raise that would have made him satisfied. Right? Time to raise young children without crushing daycare costs. Time to go back to school and get the credentials for a more future-proof career. Time to start side business that could one day replace your primary income. That's what you're doing when you're accepting a lesser paying, lesser taxing role in your job. So by intentionally taking a temporary step back in income, you are building a more resilient financial structure. You're creating a stock, making some slack. You're re-architecting your household's earnings and increasing its potential, shifting from models of 2 high-stress jobs to a more adaptable model where at least one partner provides stability while the other partner builds the next engine of growth. Now, this requires a profound mindset shift because you have to be willing to look less successful on paper for a few years to build true lasting freedom. It's going to be about playing the long game, not the short-term status game. And this, a lot of the times, especially if you're in a relationship with a female that values status more than anything else, you may have that pushback from her for her to not want to back down from her career because she believes that she should be able to reach the top of the ladder if she can. But if it doesn't benefit the relationship, then her reaching the top of the ladder could cause you guys to have a divorce. Right? Many of us carry financial scars from our childhood. A lot of us remember what it was like to go without, to see our parents struggle, to feel the anxiety of scarcity. As an adult, especially as parents, a powerful, often unconscious drive kicks in to give our own children everything we never had. And we're going to call this the legacy flex. It's an attempt to heal our own past deprivation by over providing for our children in the present. That's going to come from a place of deep love where we don't want our kids to ever feel that lack that we felt growing up. So we spend. We put them into private schools that we couldn't afford. We buy them the latest gadgets that we never got, the designer clothes that we were never able to wear, the extravagant birthday parties that we never got. We signed them up for every travel team and music lesson that we never received, every field trip that we had to miss out on. We want to build a fortress of abundance around them. But in doing so, we can inadvertently sabotage our own financial stability as well as theirs. This constant spending on status items and experiences becomes a hidden threat to our retirement, our debt, and our emergency funds. We're so focused on providing a certain childhood that we risk our family's long-term security. The irony is that this often doesn't create the resilient, capable adults that we're hoping for. It can create a sense of entitlement and a complete disconnect from the reality of how money is earned and potentially managed. The unorthodox solution here is to redefine what a true legacy is. So maybe the real inheritance isn't Disneyland. It's a paid off house and a kid who knows how to read a lease. A true legacy is not what you give your children, it's what you build into them. It's inheritance through capability, not consumption. So how do you do this? Well, first, you want to make your family's financial systems the legacy. Instead of just giving your kids an allowance, teach them how to budget it. Cook with them instead of for them, and show them how to make affordable, healthy meals. When you review a bill or fix something around the house, instead of replacing it, let them watch and explain why things are being done the way they're being done. You are transferring skills, not just money. You are building their financial literacy, which is an asset that will appreciate for their entire lives. Second, swap one expensive child-related expense for a cheaper alternative and invest the difference. Take a hard look at the reoccurring cost for your kids. Is there one thing that's more about status than genuine development? Maybe it's an elite travel soccer league that costs thousands of dollars a year. Could your child get 90% of the benefit, exercise, teamwork, fun from a local rec league for a fraction of the price? Take the difference in the cost and open a dedicated investment account in their names. Show them the account. Explain that this money is being invested for their future, for their education, for their car, their prom, or a down payment on their first home someday in the future. This makes the trade-off tangible. It teaches them about opportunity costs and the power of compounding growth. You're explicitly showing them you're choosing to invest in their future over their present, because your present self is fleeting and your present wants are not as valuable as your future needs and success expectations. This reframes your role as a parent. You're not just a provider of endless experiences, you are a steward of your family's long-term well-being. And that's going to be a legacy that no amount of money can buy. And so far, we've talked about the invisible psychological and social pressures that sabotages your budget. But sometimes the problem isn't in your head. It's in your zip code, or your floor plan, or your car. When your core living expenses are too high, no amount of disciplined budgeting will save you. You can't out-budget a broken structure. And this is going to be where we need to think like an engineer, not just an accountant. So I'm going to be giving you 3 powerful strategies to fundamentally change your financial equation. For many of us, the idea of living with parents or in-laws sounds like a step backwards. But what if we reframed it as a strategic wealth building tool? The 2 biggest expenses for most households are housing and childcare. Multi-generational living, when done intentionally, can drastically reduce both. The key word here is intentionally. This isn't a chaotic, guilt-driven rescue where everyone moves in without a plan, where we decided that, instead of me being homeless, I'm going to go live with a family member. That's a recipe for disaster. An intentional approach means treating it like a business arrangement. You create a written agreement that clarifies everything: who pays which bills, how chores are divided, expectations around privacy. You even discuss an exit plan, how and when arrangements will end. I'm not here forever, but I should be able to get this done within a certain period of time, and we will reevaluate this within 3 to 6 months of the expiration of this arrangement. And if extensions are necessary, based on the circumstances, extensions will be necessary. When you do it right, the savings can be massive. That money can be redirected with fierce purpose to eliminate debt, build emergency funds, or fund the education that leads to a better career. It's a temporary sacrifice of a little bit of privacy for a permanent leap forward in financial stability. Geo-arbitrage is a simple but powerful concept. Earning in a high income area while living in a low cost area. Expensive cities can act as a financial vortex, sucking up your income no matter how much you earn. If your housing eats up 40 or 50% of your take-home pay, you will always feel broke. The unorthodox solution is to consider a strategic relocation. This works better when you are dealing with digital nomad jobs, working from abroad, being able to work from home, stuff to that effect. But this could mean moving to a less expensive suburb and commuting to work if you still have to work in person, or more radically, a temporary 1 to 3 year move to a completely different, lower costing city or state, especially if you are, or with your partner, if one of y'all can work remotely. So imagine cutting your rent by $1,000 a month. That's $12,000 a year. Over 3 years, that's $36,000. That could be enough to wipe out your student loans or build a down payment for a house. It's about using geography as a tool to hit a specific financial goal. Many people try to budget by trimming a little bit from every category. And this feels like death by 1,000 cuts, because it's psychologically exhausting, because you are constantly depriving yourself of everything in every area of your life that you believe that you need, or at least wish that you had. So the unorthodox solution is radically simple in one dimension. Instead of cutting 5% from 20 different categories, what if you cut 90% from 1 or 2 major categories, so that you can live normally in all of the other categories? The highest leverage categories are almost always the big 3: housing, transportation, and food. Housing: could you live in a smaller, less prestigious, but perfectly safe apartment for a few years? Could you house hack by renting out spare rooms? Right? You got a 5-bedroom house and there's only 3 of you. Can you rent out 1 or 2 of the rooms? I would not do Airbnbs. I know that Airbnb is a good thing, but you would have a revolving door of strangers, and you cannot guarantee that, especially when you have kids, the person that's coming is suitable for the dynamic that you have. Also, if you have pets, you cannot guarantee that the person that is coming over is going to be okay with your pets. Steven says, I need the boats and exotic travel date category to begin to exist. In order for you, so you're in your 30s. If you're planning in 20 years, you'd be in your 50s, to have those boats and exotic travels. If you are allocating a portion of your money that you're putting into your brokerage account, high interest savings account, CDs, treasury bonds, towards that type of travel, the first thing you would have to do is find the value in the boat and the travel destinations that you'd like to go to. Now, the value in the boat is going to be the cost of the boat, the cost of maintaining the boat, and then the cost of storing the boat when the boat is not in use. If you are not on the boat every week, is it going to cost you money, whether it is sitting in front of your house or if you have to pay to leave it at a boat dock? Then you got to think about the gas, the cost to fuel it. Depending on the size of the boat, depending on the cost for fuel, you calculate how much money per month would it take for you to save the quantity of money to acquire the type of boat that you're looking for. And then you start putting that money away to high interest accounts that would generate that type of revenue to support that type of purchase. Out of the money that you put into your brokerage account. So let's say that you're putting away $500 a month in your brokerage account. And let's say that $100 a month of that plus interest, utilizing whatever interest matrix that you have on your brokerage account, is supposed to go towards your buying a boat. So let's say that you're doing $100 a month towards your brokerage account. That's going to be going towards your big boat. And let's say, for the sake of that, you're doing like 10% interest. So you're likely 10% interest annually would likely, without doing massive compound interest calculations, likely leave you with $1,200 a year plus 10% interest, which would be another $120 a year. So let's round it up to about $1,500 a year out of the money that you're saving. Over the course of 10 years, that would be about $15,000. So over the course of 30 years, that'd be about $45,000. Now, is the boat you're planning on using currently valued at $25,000? That's the first question. And why do I say $25,000? Well, if it's reasonably close to half of the money that you would have been able to accumulate over the course of 30 years, you'd be able to buy the boat cash up front. And the remaining money would be covering the cost of storage and maintenance, which means that from the time that you purchase the boat, you will forever be able to afford to maintain it. Now, if you did that, now you've got a boat. Now where are you going to go? If part of your retirement is traveling, are you getting a boat big enough to sail the 7 seas? Or are you just going to like sail off the coast of Florida? That's going to be one of the biggest questions. So luxury at this moment, you desire the wish to have a boat and have exotic travels, which is fair to have as an idea. It's a fair vision to have. You can put that towards your 20 or 30-year plan. One of the things that you add to your bucket list is that you want to accomplish, where in 30 years you have like $45,000 for a boat and $100,000 for travels, and you're going to start putting this stuff together. It's perfectly feasible. But that goal is something that you start budgeting for today. You put it into a line item of all the things that you're trying to save for. When you got your emergency fund, you got your college tuition, you got retirement fund. You also want to include in your retirement fund the cost of travel. And now that you're talking about a boat, if you want the cost of a boat, if it's a boat that you're putting and taking out of the water, it's a boat with a trailer. And if it's a boat with a trailer, your Toyota is not going to be hauling that motherfucker. So you're looking at a Toyota Tundra or something like that, a truck that will be able to tow the boat. So now instead of just budgeting a boat, you're budgeting the boat, the trailer, and the truck that's going to tow the boat, and then the storage space for the truck because you already got a second car. Forward thinking for all of these things, and then you want to piece money together in order to get that done. Something as simple as a want like that has a plethora of different things that needs to be taken into consideration before you start putting a line item together in order to accomplish that. Well, let's take, for example, something like transportation. If we're trying to roll back a little bit, could your family go from 2 cars down to 1 car? Right? Because if you have 2 vehicles registered, you're paying for insurance on 2 cars. But you come to find out that y'all don't always leave at the same time. It's just one of you leaves in one of the cars, and there's always another car sitting at the house. This doesn't mean that you're going to save money on car payments. It means that you're going to save money on car insurance, gas, maintenance, and taxes. Because some states actually tax you for ownership of a vehicle. So even if you unregister the vehicle and leave it in the backyard as a paperweight until emergencies, you're spending less money on the car that's not being used than what you would be if it was idle and registered and taxed and unutilized. You know what I'm saying? Let's look at food. And this doesn't mean eating ramen all the time, because I know that most of us, ramen is a go-to fallback. Beans and rice is what we use as a fallback. It means committing to cooking almost all of your meals at home and portioning out your food into Tupperware so that you can have a meal plan set up where you might spend 3 or 4 hours cooking for the next 10 days or cooking for the next 7 days, so that you can put everything in the fridge and then take a meal out every day or every 3 times a day or whenever you're going to work, and put the stuff in the microwave and heat it up later, deliberately creating leftovers for the remainder of the week. Right? That makes eating out rare. Intentionally treating yourself instead of a weekly habit. So when you're intentionally treating yourself, you might go out once every few months and buy you 100 wings instead of buying 20 wings every week or 20 wings every 3 days. By being intentionally weird in one area, you create massive breathing room in your budget. You don't have to feel guilty about buying a coffee because you just saved $500 this month by sharing a car. It frees up mental energy and replaces the feeling of deprivation with a sense of powerful strategic chaos. Because I just made some black beans with adobo and hot sausage with brown rice and chicken. It was amazing. See, now you're not a content creator, but if you would have recorded yourself doing that and putting that online, food gets more views than anything else. Now, if your households were a small business, would you run it the way that you run finances now? Or would you go months without looking at the books? Make major spending decisions on gut feelings? Probably not. You'd be out of business in a year. And yet, that's how a lot of us are running our houses in the most important economic unit of our lives, our families. So the final set of unorthodox solutions is to adopt a new mindset. Again, I'm going to tell you guys, treating your household like a micro LLC, a small, agile enterprise focused on long-term stability and growth, where the partner that you're dating, your girlfriend, your wife, your boyfriend, your husband, is a business partner. So we're not doing this because we love each other. We're doing this because it's financially beneficial. Our kids are the next generation of interns until they know what the hell they're doing. Then they become our long-term employees in the family. We will teach them, like the Sopranos, that our lifestyle is the family business. When my children decline activities with their friends that makes absolutely no sense, that would likely get them in trouble, my kids will be able to tell their friends that I can't do that because now I have to go clock into the family business, which is the most prestigious way of saying I'm not getting caught up in your bullshit because I'm going home. They can't talk you out of, I gotta go to work. Know what kind of friend would they be if they're talking you out of, I gotta go to work. It's the quickest get out of jail free, legitimately get out of jail free card, right? Now, every business is going to have assets. So does your household. But most of us underutilize our assets. Your assets aren't just the savings accounts. They're your spare bedrooms, your car when it's parked, your skills, your knowledge, your flexible time. The micro LLC mindset asks, how can we activate these dormant assets? How can we put this stuff to work for us, right? This is going to be about running a small, low-risk experiment to generate new income in different ways, which I told you guys, if you had kids, instead of just giving them allowance because they breathe, give them the task of coming up with good ideas to generate revenue off of the resources that we have, or generate revenue off of the skill sets that the kids already have. Instead of giving them money for getting A's on their report card, give them money for learning new skills that can provide them an income. That makes more sense. Because as Michael has said plenty of times before, school is going to teach you how to become servitive to an employer that is going to bank off of your effort, instead of teaching your children to get A's on the paper. You teach your children to create ideas, create vision, create businesses, automate effort, start up companies, find pain points, charge for solutions. Don't be a worker, be a boss, right? That's something that not a lot of parents do. But if we were thinking, could you rent out a spare room on an Airbnb for just a few weeks a year, just to bring a little extra cash? Could you use a professional skill to do a few hours of freelance consulting each month? If you have multiple cars and you want to keep them insured, can you rent one of them out to someone else who needs a car? Could you set up childcare swap with a neighbor? Notice, childcare swap, saving money for everybody. I watch your kids some of the time if you watch my kids, and likely these kids are best friends. The key is to run these 90-day tests. For 1 quarter, you're going to try one idea at a time, unless compounding ideas are not going to interfere with one another. Track whatever income that you get out of that, the hours needed for it, and the stress that it causes to the family. At the end of the 90 days, you evaluate it. Was it worth it? Meaning, not did we make a lot of money for it? Was the quantity of money we received worth the effort we put into getting it? If yes, you continue doing it. If no, you shut it down and try another experiment next quarter. This removes the pressure of starting a massive side hustle and reframes it as an agile research and development for the household. Every business has stakeholders. Your stakeholders, or your household's LLC, also has stakeholders. And your extended family, your friends, your community, these relationships involve expectations, and many of them financial, such as gifts, dues, travel for weddings, last-minute requests for help. Often we say yes without thinking because we fear judgment. But a good business leader knows that you can't please everyone all the time. The unorthodox solution is to proactively negotiate these expectations. Stewardship includes saying no, not just giving until you're broke. So this could mean talking to your friend group about doing a potluck instead of an expensive dinner all the time. It could mean suggesting a Secret Santa gift exchange with a price limit for the holidays instead of buying gifts for everybody. It's about preserving your most important relationships by making them sustainable. No serious business would run without regular finance meetings. So why is your household any different? The single most powerful habit that you can adopt is the weekly household money meetings. And there's also another one adjacent to the money meetings. You have human resources meetings on a regular basis at your jobs, where human resources coaches everybody on what's going on. You should have meetings about the satisfaction of performance. We can reclassify that as board meetings for the shareholders. Is things going the way you intended them to go? Are you satisfied with the performance and the outcome? That's something that you need to be adding to your weekly, monthly meetings, or your weekly and monthly meetings. So while you're talking about money, you also want to talk about individual satisfaction in the relationships of the family members in the household. So these are going to be your board meetings. It's going to be a non-negotiable 30-minute appointment for the money, and maybe another 30-minute appointment for how we feel about each other. And you want to do this every week with your partner, yourself, and well, you want to do it for yourself. If you're single, you want to do it with your partner, but also with your children, especially when your children reach the age where they can actually contribute. If they can contribute to the budget, then they should be included in the discussion, which shows value in the children and encourages, through positive reinforcement, their ability to maintain loyalty to the family business, as opposed to it being a dictatorship of my house, my rules, where if you don't like what I'm doing, you can get out. Instead, you can invest in the family business as a stakeholder and buy some extra freedom from dependency. Think about that. So during the meetings, you're not going to be blaming or shaming anybody. You are acting as a CEO or co-CEOs of the household LLC. You're going to review the past week's spending. You're going to look at upcoming week's expenses. You're going to check your progress towards your goals. And this is going to be a simple ritual that's going to be doing three things. It's going to eliminate the chaos and the cost of disorganization. Disorganization could be you guys both believing that there's a certain quantity of money in one account and you both spending money individually without communicating about it. Somebody's going to come up short. It could eliminate chaos, such as having unexpected costs coming up without saying anything about it while discretionary spending is about to be spent. I just experienced earlier this week where a relative had an appointment that they'd known about for over a month, and I'm scheduling appointments for them, and the appointments conflicted with one another. Had the information been passed on before I started scheduling all of the appointments, if it was necessary, I could have scheduled the appointment around the other appointment, right? So by having those debriefings on a regular basis, no one is left out. You're not dealing with the late fees, missed payments, double payments, charge-offs. You're not dealing with NSF fees, declines, because one of the worst things in the world is for the money to start going in places where it's supposed to go indirectly. You don't know what's going on because you guys don't communicate enough, and you're at the register at Walmart or at the gas station with no gas left in the car, and that is the moment where there isn't enough money to finish the transaction. The social embarrassment of not being able to buy the groceries that you came to the register with is one thing. Not having enough gas to get home is another. Being able to make sure that everything is going the way it's supposed to go by communicating with your partner is one of the most important things that you can do. It forces you to be forward looking instead of reactive. And it ensures the mental load of managing the finances is shared, which in many households falls only on one person as the leader of the household, and that leads to that person being burnt out. The money meetings makes that labor visible and shared, where the person that's handling all the money might be one of the most stressed out people in the group, and everybody devalues that because they don't put any effort into making sure the bills get paid. Right now, these meetings also can work in your friend group, even when you're not talking about your own personal finance, because when you guys are organizing your shared time together, being able to find value in what you're doing together and when you're doing it together and how you're going to accomplish that and how much is going to be going into these social interactions actually allows for you guys to not only potluck food, but potluck investments towards each other's quality time. If we're going to each put up $20 a person for us to hang out next week at a specific day on a specific time, whatever we can afford to do for the group inside of that budget, that's what we're going to do. And to prevent from having a bad time, certain behavior is not going to be tolerated. If we've got the kind of a friend that gets in the bar fights, look, bro, you're going to have to behave or you can't go. You know, if we've got the kind of person that drinks like a fish, look, bro, you got a 2-drink minimum or you can't go. You know, this actually helps you fix your social network in a way where they're not expecting you to pay for it on a regular basis. I've seen, real quick, while we're talking about this too, I've seen certain scenarios online where like these guys are taking these girls out on the first date and she's bringing her friend, and then she expects him to pay for the friend, but she didn't talk to him about the friend. She just brought the friend like, oh, you should be able to pay for it. Look, ladies, I am not about to red pill, blue pill, black pill podcast this situation. I'm going to tell you that when extra individual, because we had like another one where the woman brought her kids to the date. When we are talking about the date, as the person that is supposed to pay, if you're going to put yourself in the position as the person that's supposed to pay, instead of assuming that she's coming by herself. So think about this, ladies. I'm not even trying to make it your fault. You, as the payer of the event, should make it clear that it is going to be just the two of us. So I will make reservations for the two of us. I will pay for the activities and events for just the two of us. And in some situations where the person was planning on coming by themselves, they may think, why are you saying it like that? And you can clarify, just in case you were thinking of bringing a friend or a family member, I'm making it clear that I am only compensating for the two of us. Now, under the assumption of the homegirl who thought that she could bring an extra person, you say just the two of us. She might say, well, can I bring a friend? I don't feel comfortable with going places by myself, especially with new people. You can bring whoever you want to bring as long as you pay for her. So I'm not going to tell you that you can't bring her. I'm just going to tell you I'm not going to pay for her. We have the understanding the day before, a week before, a month before the date even starts. By setting the catalyst of those ground rules, you understand when we go in, I am going to be asking for separate checks. Y'all start asking for stuff. This isn't even going to be I'm going to get over on him and we're going to share food and blah, 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 blah. I'm setting a limit on how much I'm going to be paying on this particular date. If we're going somewhere where it's $25 a plate, I'm looking at $50 plus drinks. And like I said before, 2-drink minimum. So we should be doing reasonable $5 drinks per person. So that's $10 for the two of us, 2 sets of drinks, that's $20. So if it's $50 a drink, I'm thinking $70 plus tax, which is $77, plus tip, which is $84. That's it. Once the bill crosses over $84 for the three of us, you're paying the difference. I'm gonna put $84 on the table and that's it. Split check, I'm putting $84 down, and that's it. So y'all order $200 worth of stuff. I paid my 84. And I did that math in my head right there, right in the moment. And I was sitting over here thinking like Olive Garden prices, because they got the 2 for $25, or no, Chili's was the $25 meals. Chili's and Applebee's has a $25 plate meals. TGI Fridays has a $25 plate meals. But Olive Garden has 2 for $25. So really we would have been spending like $35 or $40. So when we talk about this, if you're doing like $100, $200, $300 a person, it's okay. I'm only covering $84. So you bring whoever you want to bring, but I'm only bringing the two of us. Same thing with, we seen some of those individuals that was throwing a birthday party, and the girl thought that all her friends was going to be on his balance sheet. When you send out the invitations to the birthday party at the event, you make sure that you include in the invitation that no food or drinks are covered by the host. Simply put, they know when they're invited that I ain't paying for shit. I'm going to pay for me. I'm going to pay for her. And if you come and you bring her a gift, you're going to pay for you. If you're setting a 2-drink minimum, you can set a 2-drink, or not a 2-drink minimum, 2-drink maximum. You can set a 2-drink maximum of, I'll pay up to 2 drinks per person with a maximum amount of, say, $100 worth of drinks, if we're going out for drinks. By setting these expectations, they knew before they showed up what you weren't going to do. So we're not even going to argue this when we get to the situation, because like I told you before, Stephen, if you already know that you got a set dollar amount that you're going to be paying for this activity, when you go to the restaurant, you set up the event, you're going to spend $100 on drink. I'm going to pay for $100 on drinks, and everything else is going to be on a separate check for the other person. I am going to pay $84 for the food, and anything else that's asked for is going to be on a separate check for the other person. That covers you, and then the other person can square away everything else. When you're doing this, you're procuring, so you can just walk out, because I put my money down when I showed up. I put my money down when I showed up. I paid my part when I walked out. So when everybody else is sitting there ordering $300, $500, $700 worth of stuff, I'm not sitting there with a $2,000 bill. I paid my $84 and I walked out. Steven said, you just created the $84 rule. We need to start this as a standard. Dude, you seen how quick I covered the math, bro? And $25 a plate is a lot of money for some food. It's like a 3-star restaurant kind of thing. It usually at restaurants, food usually is between $10 and $15 in most 1- and 2-star restaurants. 3-star restaurants, you start looking at $25 a plate. But when you think rationally, if we're paying for 2 people, that's $50. Adults more often than not drink alcohol. If you find the one that doesn't, it's going to be cheaper. Bottles are usually between $2.50 and $5 a bottle. It might be more because of inflation right now, but usually when I used to go out, that used to be what the price is. But if you're doing glasses of wine, you have anything from a $2.50 glass of wine to a $5 glass of wine, and sometimes they offer the I don't remember what they call them, the big bottle. Not always the whole bottle of wine, but like the big container of drink, and that might be a fixed price of like $30 or $25. And then if you're at certain restaurants that will sell you the whole bottle over just selling it like $9 a glass, the bottle of wine might be $45 for the bottle of wine. So instead of buying, and actually sometimes the bottle is cheaper than the per glass price. So the bottle might be $25 or $30 for the bottle, but they're selling it at $9 a glass. Instead of buying it by the glass, you buy it by the bottle. You say, well, if it's $25 a bottle, I'm only going to buy 1 bottle, and when the bottle is done, we're done. I said 2 drink minimum. Usually, if you're not greedy, a bottle should have 4 drinks in it. 2 for you, 2 for me. When the bottle's done, that's it. We're drinking water for the rest of the time because I got to drive anyway. So when you're looking at the math, ultimately, if it's $50 for the meal, $40 for the drinks, that's $80. But if it's $50 for the meal, $20 for the drinks, if you're doing cheaper than that, mixed drinks, stuff like that, and you're going to add tax. I said 10% on taxation, but taxes is usually like 8 cents on a dollar or something to that effect. But I just rounded up 10% because that's easier. So if it's like $70 to $77, you throw taxes down, and I factored in the tip, and that's why I went from $77 to $84. So from the $77 with taxes to $84 is another $7 tip, which is 10% of the bill. That has to become a short. It should be. It should be. I should have clipped that moment. Clip the moment when I talk about how to break down the standards for like creating a date. But that makes a lot of sense, because whatever the fuck you want, you should be able to get it inside of that budget. And if that's what we're doing on that date, that's what we're doing on that date. And if she wants anything else, that is fine. I'm gonna pay the first $84, and that's gonna include your tip. She's gonna pay for everything else. And I would make sure that I make that clear to the server. Hey, it should be like $77 for the meal, $7 for you for the tip. That's it, right? They can swing it where it's $64 for the meal and $10 for the tip. And I don't care. At the end of the day, when I give you my $84, that's it. Everything else, that's on them. I'm not doing it, right? If I remember and I got the time, I'll see what I can do about trying to turn that into a short. But there is one last unorthodox reason that you're struggling, guys. And it might be the most fundamental of all. The state of your own body and mind. And it's going to be burnout. What just happened? Oh. For some reason, it is showing something else on the screen there. Hold on. Something popped up in the message. Oh, that's the start of the show. How did it roll back to that? I don't care. Either way, it went bottoms up. Burnout. The World Health Organization defines burnout as a syndrome from chronic workplace stress that hasn't been successfully managed. You can also get burnout from being in a relationship with a nagging wife or bad kids or a nagging mother-in-law. All right. So this isn't just feeling tired. It's going to be a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion with devastating financial consequences. The link between financial stress and psychological distress is going to be clear. A study from Aliza's Ally Naz Life, I pronounced that wrong, is looking ahead to 2026. Found that nearly half of Americans, about 48% of them, felt more stressed than they did at the start of the previous year, with financial pressure being the primary driver. This stress doesn't stay in a neat little box. It bleeds into every corner of your life. It harms your sleep, your mood, and your decision making. So when you are burned out, your capacity to make good financial choices plummets. Your willpower is gone, and you are more likely to engage in impulsive escape spending. That's going to be the expensive meal out, the online shopping spree, DLCs on your video games, hitting the club with your homies, smoking with your plug, grabbing an extra drink. Um, there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. But just to get the momentary hit of dopamine to soothe your frazzled nerves. Burnout also makes you less effective at your job, increasing the risk of poor performance or even job loss. It's a vicious cycle. Financial stress causes burnout. Burnout leads to financial mistakes, which creates even more stress. We've been taught to see rest as a luxury. Michael said it before, sleep when I'm dead. This is dangerously wrong. Rest is a core component of your financial infrastructure. Your nervous system is part of your budget. So if you are constantly running on empty, you are leaking money through thousands of tiny holes of poor decisions and missed opportunities. The unorthodox solution is to start budgeting for rest and recovery as seriously as you budget for rent. I was just sitting over here thinking another way that burnout can cost you financial issues. Imagine those of us who drive faster when we're angry. When you're burnt out, you're stressed, you're frustrated, you kind of put a little bit more gas to the pedal, and the dopamine hit that you get from weaving through traffic, you get pulled over, get a traffic ticket. You would not have been driving that fast if you weren't pissed off. But because you were pissed off, you were driving that fast. Those traffic tickets cost more money on your car insurance, cost of court, and that's if you don't get into a crash. Poor decision making, like parking your car any kind of way instead of putting it directly into space, might lead to parking tickets. The stress of leaving abruptly, you might forget to pay. Now you're getting parking tickets, being fined by plate, all kinds of things. So this doesn't have to be expensive to reevaluate or budget. The best forms of rest is going to be free. So you want to schedule real downtime into your calendar. And this is going to mean protected screen-free time. No internet, no video games, no TV. Walk in the park, an hour to read a book. Time where you're not working, not doing chores, not consuming any new content, right? Protect your sleep. Sleep deprivation has a measurable negative impact on the parts of your brain responsible for impulsive control and long-term planning. Treating your bedtime as a non-negotiable appointment is one of the best financial decisions that you can make. Share the mental load. Use your weekly money meeting to explicitly divide the invisible tasks of running the household, the planning, the worry, the organizing, so that one person isn't carrying the entire psychological burden. Investing in your own recovery isn't selfish. It's the most fundamental investment that you can make in your financial future. Well-rested, clear-thinking mind is your single greatest asset. You can't build stable financial housing on your foundation of burnout. You've got to heal the foundation first. He said that is of importance. Yeah. He said the only screen time I want from now on is at work and music while driving. I expect that. You're either going to be on this podcast or you're going to have some background noise to distract you from whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish at the time. A lot of us who have fundamentally developed PTSD from multitasking, like always on the grind, our brains do not tolerate not having more than one thing going on. So we might actually have something going on in the background. I myself also deal with tinnitus, and that ringing in the ears may lead to me deciding to say, well, I'm going to play something in the background so I'm not just sitting here listening to that annoying ringing in the background that I just can't do anything about. So having something playing in the background, that and when you're thinking about music while driving, I'm going to tell you something that you might have not have thought about, Stephen. I'm trying to plug this phone up real quick so that because it's at like 14%. We've been doing this for 3 hours. All right, Stephen, you're going to love this because you never thought about it. All of your favorite songs, make a playlist of just the instrumental, just the music, no lyrics, lyric-free music. Why? Words make you think. And if you're taking a break from thinking, part of your resting process, you want music that doesn't make you think. If you're sitting over there listening to Eminem's Kill Shot, you're analyzing the bars and you're thinking about how, oh, he roasted that guy, and you're still thinking. The goal of resting your brain is to not think. The beat itself is the only thing that's going on. The music is the only thing that's going on. The instrumental is the only thing that's going on. Jazz, contemporary music, no lyrics, just music. If you're driving while listening to lyric-free music, you will find yourself less stressed than what you would if you were listening to the same song with the lyrics that would get you hyped up, that would change how you feel, that would impact because words are powerful. So listening to the song with lyrics actually impacts your emotional state, while listening to the exact same song with no lyrics would not impact your emotional state. You'll find that to be very weird. Take, for example, a love song. The lyrics is what hurt, not the beat. You can keep it on a down low on and listen to it and not feel nothing. But when you listen to the lyrics of how the dude got cheated on, and you're thinking about the last time you got cheated on, your soul is crushed. Same song, different impact. Yeah. I know you guys probably came into this show tonight feeling frustrated and maybe even a little ashamed, and you've been playing by the rules of tracking your money and still feeling like you were losing. I hope that now you guys see that you are never playing on a level field, that you have been fighting invisible opponents, the hidden tax of family obligations, the weight of identity spending, the subtle control of financial abuse, the golden handcuffs of a rigid career, and the deep, silent drains of burnout. The traditional financial advice fails because it doesn't even acknowledge those forces exist. It's like trying to navigate a minefield with a map for a sunny meadow. It's useless. But now you can see the mines. You have a new set of unorthodox tools to disarm them. And you know how to make family support visible and bounded. You know how to conduct an identity audit to separate your self-worth from your spending. You now know the signs of financial control and the importance of a safety plan. You now know how to think like an architect about your career and like a CEO about your household. And you now know that rest is not a luxury, but a non-negotiable financial strategy. The core message is going to be this: most struggling households don't just have a spending problem, they have an invisible obligation problem. an identity pressure problem, a boundary problem, and a time poverty problem. The fix is to make those pressures visible and intentional. Now, this isn't going to be easy. It requires courage to have hard conversations and to challenge the stories that you've been told about what success should look like. But this is the real work of building financial freedom. It's not about deprivation, it's about liberation. It is about taking back control from the invisible forces that have been running your life and, for the first time, becoming the conscious architect of your own future. Now, you have the tools, and now you have to go and build it. And one of the things that you have to realize is that while it is hard to talk to some of the people that you value the most about some of the things that you go through, you have to recognize that oppression comes from the feeling of being deprived without the courage to speak out about it. That is true oppression. It is not the actions of someone else preventing you from success. While yes, that does play a part of it, the oppression is internalizing the feeling of deprivation while maintaining the fear of projecting and articulating the feeling of deprivation. And you can get that from your relationships. You can get that from your family, your interactions, your jobs. And that only happens because you have not taken the chance or expressed the courage to step up and talk about how you think this situation is a tad bit fucked up and not quite in your favor the way you would prefer it to be. And you are expecting some drastic and immediate changes. Now, that's not a nice way to put it, but that's ultimately what you're going to be doing. So if tonight's show opened your eyes to the hidden sides of money, I want to make sure that you guys do two things. If you haven't done so already, first, I want you guys to hit that subscription button because we're going to be releasing a whole lot more. We've got stuff coming out every night of the week, right? And we're going to be helping you out with the ability to master the real games of money, right? Second, I want you guys to leave more comments in the comment section and share one invisible obligation that you guys have realized that you've been carrying for a while that you originally didn't know that you were carrying. By sharing our stories, we make these hidden forces visible for everyone and we take away their power. The same way people believe using the N-word takes away the power of oppression. That does it, but this will. Taking away the power of feeling deprived or oppressed or mistreated, or taking away the stress and frustration of mismanaged assets will provide you with the sovereignty of being able to mitigate the collateral damage, and it will ultimately bring you into a better position. Now, we've covered 3 hours for tonight, almost 3 hours, 2 hours and 43 minutes. That's all I have for you guys for tonight. We're going to start by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And fellas, I give you this information to make you guys higher value men, not just by improving your financial life, but also by improving your personal life, your decision-making skills, right? Ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast from a male's perspective, you too can make yourselves higher valued individuals. I tell everybody to prioritize the things that are inside of your control that you don't like, make the necessary changes to improve that, and then navigate around things that are outside of your control. Then, ladies, y'all can follow your 20 and 30-year plans by reverse engineering what you see yourself at in 20 and 30 years to what you got to do today to get there, and then continuing to work on that every day. Y'all can now keep your eyes and ears open for the potential suitors that has the right personality and characteristics, drive, ambition, dedication, admiration, and integrity. None of that got nothing to do with how much money they make. And then you can go and pay attention to what they have as their 20 and 30-year goals. See what their goals are. See how their goals match with your goals. And if y'all both are dealing with long-term satisfaction goals, y'all are more likely to accomplish success together. I tell you, short-term gratification goals do not work well with long-term satisfaction goals because living in the now compromises your ability to have a better later. And I tell you guys that if two people work together, two people can make it to $1 million faster than one, as long as you both have similar financial values, because if you're both investing towards a long-term satisfaction, the money will always be there. If one of you is spending more money because there's more money lying around, then you're never going to reach your goals. The lifestyle that you wished for will never be there. So we have to pay attention to the future. So instead of 10% to the church for your second life, your 10% should be going to your retirement life, because you can at least benefit from that life and know about it. Now, special shout out to Steven, Michael, FX Trader, Aztec, Unc Andy, OG Kicks, and Joe Jack. I really appreciate you guys for coming to the show. Thank you for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow night. And then for the rest of you guys that are following us on TikTok,
higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.